Alrighty.
Oh, hi, Rory. That's a way to start.
That's right. The dog jumps up into your lap. That's a good sign, Steve.
He's like, why are you watching soccer and not playing with me?
Yeah. I guess no surprise as I'm sharing the screen that I picked the Hounds to win this one.
I mean,
we got to wait for the stats to come up. What's your score prediction, Steve?
2-1 in overtime.
Oh. I think both Justin and I said 2-1. I hopefully not in overtime, but
I feel like if we win in overtime, it's a goal from a really unexpected source. Otherwise, if we go to PKs, I don't want to I say that because I just don't want to deal with the anxiety of PKs.
Yeah, agreed.
This is the type of game though where like players can make legends of themselves despite having done nothing, right? Like I don't expect it to happen, but this is the type of game where like Babacar Dieng could immortalize himself in Hounds history.
Yeah, I don't disagree. We shall.
Yeah, I got busy and realized just a little while ago I never got a chance to throw on the preview. So I don't know what you guys talked about.
Way to go, man. Letting us down. No, we pretty much talked about. Sorry, we're finalizing plans here for what's going on with the family at the moment. We talked about that. Yes, Marcanic is the Golden Boot winner, but if you actually look over the past 10 games, him and Kizza have the same number of goals, and Kizza has scored in the last 5. Marcanic has not scored in the last 4. So arguably, if you're looking at who is the best, who has the better attackers at this point, I think that we said that Kizza has 35% of our team goals over that 10-game stretch. Jakobsen has 25% of our team goals, whereas Marcanic has almost 40% of his team's goals. So if you can sort of keep him quiet, you've got a pretty good chance. And so this is a case where, you know, if defense wins championships, this is the time for the Hounds to show up.
Yep.
So
I like this. If their lineup is accurate, if they're playing with a back 4, I think that's good for us.
all right, here we go. What are your thoughts on like custom kits just for the playoffs?
I think that's an awesome thing to do. But in the sense that it's something fun, I think it's great for a team, sell some more merch, and they definitely would. I think that there's an element with which you want to keep it a variation on what you already have rather than something vastly different. Right. So to have something that looks just completely different, you kind of lose the identity of the kits. But if the Hounds had a second white kit that had some of the same elements, I'd be all about it.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree.
Oh man. I'm trying to like listen to your background audio,
hear?
but I can't quite hear it. I can just hear something in the background, but I can't make it out.
Okay.
And so like I'm trying to figure out like how synced up are we?
Yeah. I'm currently at 106, 107, 108, 109, 110.
Okay, then I got you by about 10 seconds.
You're ahead of me by 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Oh, dang. Okay. No spoilers.
I don't have that Ligonier slow internet.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
To the middle of nowhere. Would we know if Pittsburgh had an injury?
No, we would not.
I hope it's just that they don't know how to get people into the stadium, because that doesn't look as full as I would hope for a playoff
Yeah,
game.
I was going to say something similar, that it doesn't look like it's that packed. I vaguely remember when we talked to the people from the back, there was some team that we talked to that they said they really struggled to get people in on time. Like logistically, there were just issues with getting people in and around.
I mean, the Hounds have gotten better at that, but there's still times where you'll be 10 minutes into the game and the east side of the stadium will still have a line past the parking lot.
Yeah.
Like basically to the Gateway Clipper.
Yeah. I was saying, we were talking a little bit, I can't remember if it was on air or not, Justin and I, about how I think it would be far more entertaining if the USL adopted more of a European model where whoever has the most points at the end of the season wins.
Mm-hmm.
But to fill that gap for playoffs, like Justin was saying, he was like, no, other countries have playoffs. They just call them cups. So you have like the FA Cup, you have the Carabao Cup, you have Champions League. So like we could very easily do a similar model where you just say the most points win, and then you have the top four. You know, you have a separate tournament where maybe you play, the Canadian League teams, or you play the MLS teams or the Liga MX teams or whatever. Like have our own version of the Champions League that actually means something. And similarly, if you're going to say that the team with the most points wins, I could care less about the Western Conference. So you literally could have almost two USL leagues. You have an East League and a West League, and then the best teams play each other during the season in a Champions League type setting.
I think there are a lot of ways to do it. Right? I mean, so England has a number of different cups, right?
Yeah.
There's the FA Cup, which is like most similar to like the Open Cup. But then there's the League Cup, which is just the Premier League. And it's a tournament in the Premier League, right? Like, so I think USL could have a lot of fun with that, because they could do kind of like a hybrid in between that, where you give USL 2 teams a chance to qualify for the next level, and then they play USL 1 teams and then bring in the championship, much like the Open Cup brings in teams at different stages. Or just have like a USL Cup, and that would be a cool way to bring some integration up and down the USL pyramid. I mean, obviously, I think there's some logistical challenges and some of that, and I think the league would have to do something about ensuring that it doesn't get prohibitively expensive to travel. But
Right.
You see a lot of things that help with that already, and supplementing that for the smaller teams, I think, could be really good.
Agreed.
I think what makes it tough is with unbalanced number of teams in the East and West, and if the league is sticking to a 34 game schedule, it'd be tough to do something where you're not playing cross division. And I just don't think the teams are going to want to sacrifice guaranteed league games for potential tournament games. So I just don't see them going less than the 34 game season.
Yeah. Maybe you could have like this is taking it too far, but you could have something where you have almost like the USL Champions League, the USL Europa League, the USL Confederates Cup. No, I forget what they call the other one. But there's basically like 3 tiers of tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So you could ensure that everyone plays, but just what tournament you're in could depend upon where you end up.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're doing our part in keeping less than 50% possession, so that's good.
Mike's favorite stat of the season.
Somebody said we are both very sweet girls. Appreciate that.
Okay. I don't know.
Liz says the watch party is bumping. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. One of the things that Justin and I discussed was in the stretch that we've had in these 10 games, we have not gone down a goal. And now we've just gone down a goal. So how mentally, how does this team bounce back?
That's a big question. I mean, I think that's one of the things that we haven't seen a lot.
Yep.
Man, I'm like, but I think that's the thing that you've got to do, right? Like, this is the time to go out and figure out how to come from behind. And at this stage, right, like now you've got to break down a team. So, yeah.
Boy. Well, that's no good.
Yeah.
To do his first goal since October 5th against Detroit City. The USL Championship goal scoring record. The Tampa Bay Rapids before that first. Pittsburgh goal conceded games. The last goal they conceded was on September 28th against Birmingham.
I mean, the positive is that it's still early. We just need to settle down. We need to get one back here. Yeah, that was a really bad goal.
Yeah.
We did not do that. It'll be interesting to see if the Battery's, tactic now is to just bunker.
That's what I'm nervous about.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that we know how to break a team down in that.
I mean, we've been fortunate in terms of being able to convert set pieces into goals. So if we can at least start to get some possession in their end, potentially pick up some fouls. But we'll see.
Man, Mondo is not positive about.
Yeah, saying, well, that's the season.
Yeah.
It's 10 minutes in, man.
This could be a thrilling night or a really long night at this stage, though. I mean, I do think one of the things that we haven't really seen much, we've been behind in one game since Zakason loan started. And so I think we look a lot different up front than we have in the past.
Yeah. Agreed. So what is happening here now? Although you're ahead of me, so you probably already know what's happening here.
I don't. It's still, he's still pointing people away and no idea why.
I mean, Etu seemed legitimately upset, and he's not one to get too heated about a play. Like he tends to get beat up and then just sort of bounces back up again. But he seemed to take personal offense to whatever happened there. The ref's even saying, like, dude, guys, 10 minutes into the game, calm down.
I mean, I can't figure out what is going on. He just keeps like walking elsewhere. Like,
like what happened?
Oh, I think he called it a drop ball.
Yeah, but a drop ball typically occurs when the ref doesn't know what happened. Like, so apparently he doesn't know what happened. Just saw the two of them butting heads and then just called it and dropped the ball. That's not a good sign this early in the game either.
Yeah.
It seems like we're already kind of reverting to going long, which I don't necessarily love either.
And I think the thing that's frustrating about that is, it's an away game. Yes, they're starting Dos Santos and Markanich, but are they playing that much better than they did a few weeks ago?
Right.
I don't think so. We just seem like we're not trying to play our game.
Switch of play for Chris Allen.
I can't tell if it's because they have numbers in the midfield. It doesn't feel like it.
No, I think it's that our wingbacks are playing really deep. And so at most we've got Walty, Griffin, and Mertz playing in the midfield right now. And so we're playing a really deep line, and that's opening up a lot of space for them to move the ball in between our lines.
You're fine. You can talk. I'm watching the game here with two of my sons here as well.
Okay.
So they're talking, and they're like, shh. I'm like, you guys can talk. It doesn't matter. Yeah, like when we keep it on the ground a little bit, we can at least get bodies moving. Oh, good ball.
I'm glad you're watching the game and not me. Like I'm trying not to
Like,
audibly react.
you're fine. You're
But
fine.
physically, like both the goal and that, like I just can't not.
Yeah. You're fine. This is a corner, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Come on.
Oh, that's a good quick play, Robbie. Okay. Starting to get a little bit going forward. Like we're not
All right.
just like trying, right? Like
Yeah.
There's ideas coming.
Yeah.
I really like that really quick restart on the throw by
Yeah,
Robbie.
Agreed.
Like no hesitation, sees it.
This is what we got to do. Just keep the ball in there and keep the pressure on. Get ourselves some set pieces where we can get bodies forward and pin them back. It feels like because we do have such that we're keeping our wing backs so far back, we're trying to move everybody up the field into their half, and we just haven't been able to keep them there thus far.
What?
Whoa. Okay, hold on. Yeah.
What?
The ref said play on. Oh, I don't like this by the ref. The ref literally was right there watching the play live and said play on, and then brought it back and stopped it. You play on, like, especially if you're giving us this is now the second drop ball in the first 17 minutes.
Right. The only thing I can think of is, and it's a crap play by Charleston, but oh my gosh, that's the 5th or 6th, like absolutely horrendous pass. Just right to them.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing here.
I mean, good play by Sean to see that he wasn't going to beat him to it and step back.
Get there.
So if he commits, then he's beat. But left hanging out to dry on that.
We need to settle down. We look like a hot mess.
Yep.
One of the things that Justin sort of speculated was, when we played them 3 games ago, whatever it may be, Ben Pierman, their coach, is a good coach. He could have been reading the tea leaves and been like, well, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to see these guys in the playoffs. Let's keep Marcanic on the bench.
Yeah.
Let's not show them exactly what we're going to show them in the playoffs and make them have to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I think for sure that that's possible. I also think that it's the type of thing where there really wasn't any reason to put him on the field.
Yes, but when we went back and looked at the last 10 games, the only game that Marcanic did not play in was against us.
Okay.
He played in every other game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's in. It's a pretty goal to nil.
So, looks like KDK is not streaming the game.
What?
It said it was supposed to, but
Oh, you mean KDK, not KDK Plus?
no, KDK Plus, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Like just
I don't
like
know if
isn't loading.
Huh. Man, after the Hounds got Bob Pompiani to send out a message saying good luck.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things I've found with that is they do a really poor job in general, just in the sense that every time I've tried to get a game, which isn't every time, it's never the game I'm looking for, but you go to the previous weeks and it works. Like, I think it's just like the same feed, no matter what page it's on.
Yeah.
But that's pretty frustrating. I mean, I know there are a couple people that I referred to that area to look for it. So
yeah,
trying to figure it out for people, but not working.
Ooh. I wasn't sure how to decipher that reaction from you based on what was just happening.
Just nobody's stepping up.
Yeah.
Again. Walty is not fast, but he got to that ball.
Yeah, I mean, the Battery they're just falling back into their lines at this point.
Yep.
We're only 23 minutes into the game. It will be interesting to see, what do we do? Like, how do we break this?
Right. Well, and this for me is kind of the worst case scenario, because I'm not confident that we have a goal on the bench.
Right. Well, I mean, look, in the entire Bob Lilly tenure, we've talked about how we seem to always lack that player who can literally break down a team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay. Sorry. You probably already saw that. Jockson's nutmeg.
Yeah. Yep.
We might have that player. We've talked about how if you push Griffin further up the field, but again, hasn't done it at all this season. So, like, why would we start now?
Yeah, I appreciate how you brought up what I always say about him when you interviewed him.
Oh yeah. He was like, "Oh, thanks." I'm like, oh yeah.
We don't need to beat them. We just need to eliminate them.
Semantics.
I mean, in a shootout, it's not technically winning. It's just advancing.
Well, that's fair.
So they wouldn't get another loss on their home field, but they would get eliminated.
Lord help me.
So it is semantics. Yeah. I think what's frustrating is it seems like we've got 3 players that are actually here to play tonight.
Name them.
Walty, Jacqueline, and Kizza. Everybody else just seems to be reacting, not playing, right? Like they're just scrambling after the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, on that play, Robbie was just standing there. No movement to try to open space up. It's a good ball.
Coming in.
I tried to see if Kevin was available to jump on this as well. Apparently, he's at a bar in Indianapolis by himself, while his significant other is at the Taylor Swift concert in Indianapolis. So
okay, he did not. He did not want to go to the concert, or he didn't want to spend to go to the concert.
They both went to the concert last year.
Okay,
and so he had seen it, and I don't know if this was like a gift to her. So I don't know. I don't know if he just wasn't. I don't know what happened, but yeah,
okay.
They're both in Indy, but she's at the concert and he's at a bar waiting for her to be done.
Yeah.
So
Indy has some really cool areas, but then it also has some areas that just feel like densely populated suburban hell.
Mm. Why are
I remember having a conversation with my dad shortly after I moved here that like the metro areas of Pittsburgh and Indy are pretty similar population size.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something like almost 800,000 people live in Indianapolis, and it's like 320 in Pittsburgh. But Indianapolis is literally 10 times the size geographically than Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
So it's just like, it's so spread out.
Yeah, we gotta like take the fight to them a little bit here.
Yeah.
We're just letting them think it around. Bring the press.
Mm-hmm.
We just feel very mechanical.
Yeah. And
like we need
we're
to
content to watch them play with the ball.
Yeah, we need to get a little more creative.
Through the middle.
Also, any time that it seems like the Battery are getting within 20 yards of our goal, they're just falling over.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that second drop ball was complete diving, rolling around with his hands on his face.
I mean, thinking back on it, I'm wondering if part of the reason why the ref called it was because he was holding his face, and
Yeah,
so they were worried.
I think so. I meant to say that, and then got distracted by other conversations. Yeah. But yeah, and that to if that's the case, like that should be a card.
Correct.
Because how do you allow a guy to stop progress like that without?
Yep.
I mean, at the very least, he needs to get treatment and he needs to go off the field.
Right. Yeah. I would love to see that as a rule where it's just like if you are down for a head injury, you have to leave the field.
Yeah.
Period. So if you're going to fake it, you got to leave the field.
Yep.
That's it. Because otherwise you are just going to have guys that are just diving and holding their face, knowing that the ref's going to stop the game.
Yeah. I mean, and there are legitimate reasons that the trainers should be on the field. But that, like, the way he reacted afterwards, no. Right. But in that case, you need to send him off the field. He needs to get examined properly, not that you allow him to just get up and keep playing right away.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Set piece. Quasi-dangerous range.
Eddie is not happy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Yeah, we're seeing the replay here now.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Danny.
Yeah, that hurts.
Griffin on this is great. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's one of the most captainy things I think he's done all season. I love it.
Dude, this ref. I'm not getting good vibes from this.
No.
Wait, who is standing over this? Is it Danny? No, it's Robbie. Okay, all right. From a distance, it didn't look like Robbie. Yeah, Osamano's not taking this.
Man. On the replay, Danny could have gotten called for a foul on that.
He could have. It felt like Danny was watching the ball the whole time, though. Like
I know, but like anytime your legs end up around the other player,
yeah,
that's. At first, I was like, "Wait, did he get fouled?" No, I don't think he got fouled at all on the replay. Where are we?
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. Why is there like 15 black jerseys and 3 white jerseys?
Right. How are there 15 black jerseys? Oof.
Guys, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're just like giving them free reign to do whatever they want.
Yep.
We keep trying to get the ball directly to Kizza. They have 2 guys on them, including Dos Santos.
Right.
Like, we got to do something else.
Yep.
If we've got 2 guys on them, then like that means somebody else should be open.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's try to do
I
something.
think this is the tactical inflexibility though that you get with Bob insisting on 3 center backs is that he doesn't have a strategy, nor does this team know how to play if he were to try to only play with 2 center backs and push things up a little further.
Yeah.
Charleston Battery.
I really don't want to jinx things because, you know, there's a lot that can happen. It's still very early in the game.
Yep.
But if things stay the way they are,
yeah,
there's a conversation to be had about, you know, we talked about it last season where, yes, the team won the Players' Shield and then they lost in the first round of the playoffs. And everyone kind of made the argument that
that was a great opportunity. And that was the Jackson multi not fast enough.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was Griffin. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's Danny.
I thought that was Walty at first.
Also with Jockison on the left. Jockison started that play on the left.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. Like, let him and Kizza switch around and let Robbie step in, right? Like, make that front attacking core hard to mark because they're all over the place.
Yep. Back to my thought. You know, we had talked about when the team went out in the first round last season that, you know, yes, getting the Players' Shield is great, but really you got to make a deep run. If this holds, we will have done neither.
Right.
Again.
But I mean, I think that comes back to something I've said many times over the years is that when you're constantly rebuilding because of your contract structure, how do you make progress?
Yeah.
And I would claim even if we somehow get out of this game and lose next week, right? Like, I don't see that as progress.
Right.
I don't see progress unless we get into the third round or beyond. We've made it to the second round a couple times. We've won a couple playoff games. Not enough, but if we're first, second round playoff entrants every year, well, Bob, Tuffy, the proof is in what happens year after year, not the claim that you're trying to win a championship and you do that because you're starting slow, right? Like, and I think that's part of it. If we didn't start slow this year, we wouldn't be playing this team right now.
Right.
Even with our midseason abysmal run, right? And that's a problem that I think other than last year, well, even last year, It's just the difference was last year we weren't great. Brought Griffin back, and
right,
that made the difference.
I also feel like I'll kind of make the argument again. If you go into every season saying that the goal is to win a championship, that's really, really hard to do. There's only one team every season that wins a championship. If you go into the season saying our goal is to win the Players' Shield, that's a little bit more within your control because you're eliminating the odds of a one-and-done playoff game, and you're literally saying over the course of 32 games or whatever it is, you are the best team. So that doesn't allow for a slow start.
Eric Dick.
Oh man.
Whoa.
Okay.
That was. Oof.
When you started clapping, I was like, is that in frustration? Is that in anger?
No, that is. I thought we were down 2-0.
No, that was a great save.
Because that was terrible defending.
Yeah, that was terrible defending. I don't know who Osimhen was looking at here. Was he looking at Biasi, saying that was his fault? Ugh. All right. Yeah, or Dick's keeping you in it. Who's like the random dude just like standing on the field with the gold chains behind the corner flag?
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Boy. But yeah, so back to what I was saying. I feel like the goal should not be to win a championship. The goal should be to try to get the Players' Shield every year because that does not allow for a slow start. You have to be good from the get-go over the course of 32 games. And if you win the Players' Shield, if you're a team like Louisville this year, then the odds are that you're going to be in the best position to potentially win a championship in a tournament-style thing. But to say that we're going to be the best team come the playoffs, it feels like you're aiming at the wrong thing.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, that's the difference, and I get tired of saying it, but you look at Louisville, and what did they do in the offseason? They got better. They didn't rebuild their roster. They added Arturo
Ordonez, and
right, like, I mean, the best defender in the league last year. And then partway through the season, they go out and get what's his name? The forward that he was with.
Yeah, the goal scorer.
Yeah, he played in Memphis, played a couple other places. He was in Atlanta too with Robbie. I can't remember his name.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember. Because I remember when it came in, I was like, right, because that's what Louisville needs is more goals.
Right.
But like, yeah, that's what you do.
Right. And I think the difference there is even if he's not scoring what he was a few years ago, he's got the ability to be a game changer in the starting 11 or off the bench.
Right.
Our solution is to give Eddie Kizza a ton of leeway to eventually replace Dikwa. But he's at the end of his contract after this year, so we don't know if he'll be here next year, right? And
he could go get a payday somewhere else and be gone.
Right. Bring in a guy on loan that helped open things up as Kizza hits his stride, right?
Right.
But what else do we have?
Right. I wonder too, you know, the league, I can't remember if it was the league.
Philip Goodrum.
Oh, that's who it was. Yeah. It wasn't the league. Somebody released sort of the final attendance numbers for the season. And even though we basically sold out every single home game, we were still like mid-table in terms of total attendance for the year. I do wonder how much the stadium expansion might help our efforts.
Yeah, I'd much rather be 70% full in a 10K stadium than.
Well, but I'm just thinking in terms of selling tickets, being able to bring in more money, because the argument of Louisville is the way they are because they can just buy players and they can keep players. And, the argument that we potentially can't, at least from a ticket sales perspective, the numbers aren't there. There are other ways you can get the numbers there.
Yeah, I don't think that has everything to do with it. I think it's a organizational philosophy and amount of money that is either available or willing to be spent on the front end from the top down.
Right.
That
agreed.
That the ownership in Louisville is willing to take the hit to win.
Right.
And if Tuffy would just shut up about championships and say, my goal is to create a sustaining organization that can sustain itself and be competitive. And sometimes it means we're going to win. Sometimes it means we're not going to win as much, but the health of the organization is most important. Right. I wouldn't have a problem with it, right? But just be honest, because that's what you're doing. Right. You're not out to win a championship. Because your solution to win a championship is Bob Lilly and only Bob Lilly.
Right.
There's no plan beyond that. So you let Bob Lilly construct the roster, make the roster decisions, sign players to 1-on-1 contracts year after year after year. And if you're just upfront about those things, that changes a lot of my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the inauthenticity of, we're out here to win a championship, but yet we don't do the things that lead to winning championships, like building on last year's success. When I don't know that there's anything we could have done to compete financially with what I suspect Rhode Island paid Dequa.
Right.
But when you don't even make the effort after the initial offer that you made him, then you're not earnestly looking to build on last year.
Right. Oy vey.
Okay.
So what do we do?
Take a break. Talk about it after we take a break.
That's a good call.
Because I need a couple minutes to think.
Yeah. Agreed. I'm going to turn my camera off, and I'll be.
Me too.
And we're back. Wasn't that there was an SNL sketch that was like that, wasn't it? They were just, and we're back.
It sounds really familiar. That sounds about what it would be like. Yeah, I don't know.
I wanted to so Kevin in chat said, "Is our roster turnover that much different than other USL clubs? Aren't most player contracts in the league 1 year, maybe with a club option?" If you're comparing it to the entirety of the league, I would say that it's probably comparable. If you compare it to the teams at the top of the league, no. I've literally had the conversation with Louisville fans, and I've said, why do you think your team is so good? Or I'll say it to Tampa fans, why do you think your team is so good? And they will repeatedly say, oh, it's the fact that we have the same guys that play together year after year, and we have them here on long-term contracts, and the same guys stick around for 5, 6, 7 years. It's that consistency that keeps the team together and keeps them succeeding. So, sure, we could be like every other team, or we could be like the top teams. What do you want to do?
And that's not to say that we haven't had some of those players. But when you're talking about Kenny Forbes and Danny Rivera as part of that, they're guys that are not contributing in the way that they have in the past, year after year, right? And I mean, I love Danny. I mean, he's an awesome dude. I hope he is back next year. Last week when you were talking about how little he played, I was like, no, there's no way. And then I looked at it, and it's a quarter or less of what he played last year in terms of total minutes, right? Like, I feel like we've seen him a bit, but it's nowhere near what I had thought it was going to be. And so I think the other difference is that the players that do return are concentrated in the midfield, and that's about it, right? And so you're rebuilding and starting from scratch with your defense pretty regularly, doing the same up front pretty regularly. And you think about players under Bob Lilly that have been here for more than 2 years. Tommy Van Kazeel, Jordan Dover, Mertz, Griffin, Rovey, Forbes, Dequa, and I guess you could say Kizza because he was here for a quarter of a season plus 2.
Right.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. Those are the ones that stick out to me right off the bat. But it's not like you even see those guys all together. Right. And you look at last year's defense, you had one of your 4 main center backs that wasn't together for 2 years, right? And that's Pat Hogan.
Right.
And so this year's defense is starting out with Hogan, Osamanu, and Mike DeShields. You sell DeShields to Hartford and put Suber, right? Like it's disjointed, and it's not that building on things over time, right? And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say that I feel like I haven't said many times in the past, honestly.
No, I know. But it's also, so I can play the devil's advocate here. I don't agree with it, but I can play the devil's advocate that Lilly chops and changes every single season. And every single season, we have a keeper that's in contention for the Golden Glove because we have a team and a defense that play in such a way that we're not giving up a ton of goals. So this is a case where he is making tons of changes, but getting consistent results, at least in the back.
Yeah.
Now, there's the argument,
but it takes time.
It takes time. Exactly. Okay. So yes, that's a very valid point. So again, if we're saying that the goal is to win the Player Shield, not to win the championship in the playoffs, then you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by saying, I'm going to take a third of the season to get these guys up to speed.
Exactly.
So that they can play the way that I want to play. So
Yep.
so right there, just sort of changing the goal changes the approach to how you have to go about facing things. And and maybe you do have more consistency and you bring more guys back because they know your system and you're able to churn out results. You're going to have to pay more money to keep these players around. And that could be where a lot of this friction stems from, as we've discussed. But that's one way that you do it.
Yep.
The more that I say this, the more I really start to believe in this idea of, and I know there's a lot of people that disagree with it, but if you set the goal to be the win the Players' Shield every year, it changes the entire way that you have to go about building and constructing the team, because it's not, let's get into 7th place and try to be the hot team and hope that we win the next 3 games. Because the odds of that happening are 1 in, you can't even say, well, you could say 1 in 32, or how many teams are there in the league? Not 32 teams in the league.
Not
is it 24? Is it 12 in each division? We keep changing.
Yeah, I don't know. I've lost track.
Regardless, it keeps changing. But like, yeah. If you can't start slow, then the way that you approach building the team changes drastically.
Right. And I think that's where, I mean, we've had this conversation as a group, I mean, both publicly and behind the scenes of.
We don't talk behind the scenes. What do you mean?
Yeah. Justin and I have never had a difference of opinion on Bob Lilly. But I think that's like, it's not that I don't believe that Bob Lilly can coach a team to be the best that it can be. It's that I think the league has passed him up in the sense of he's still trying to build a roster like he won the championship with Rochester. What was that, 9 years ago? And the league is vastly different.
Yeah.
You
just look at the structure of it, right? I mean, literally, the Battery have a player that is leaving in January to go play in Spain. And you have teams that are selling and buying players and making a profit that they can then turn around and spend on more players.
Right.
These are things that weren't happening 9-10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, but I do think part of that is you look at those players, and this, I think, may come for the Hounds, but we're not there yet. And so to pretend that we're at the same level as some of these other teams is, you're seeing these be young players.
Right.
And when is the last time you saw a player make a actual difference throughout an entire season that was under 20 years old?
Right.
And I say it that way because when he's had his chances, I've been really impressed with EJ this season.
Yeah.
But here's my question. Where is he? Right? Like, and
I mean, listen,
and I'm trying to think of like what other under 22-year-old, 23-year-old players can I come up with? I can't identify another one. That's not to say that there aren't ones, but there's nobody else that sticks out to me that was under that age, right? That basically that wasn't a college player or beyond.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, for all the accolades that, the RDA gets and things like that, we still haven't seen anybody kind of make that jump and be able to contribute in a Lilly system in a meaningful way. It will be very interesting to see how the Riveters do.
Well, I think that there's the key, right? What in the RDA makes the headlines?
Right.
It's not the boys, it's the girls.
Right.
And so having a women's team to see those girls grow up and have a chance to make an impact at a higher level is exciting.
Is that an argument for So the interesting thing is that the W League is not in theory a air quotes professional league.
Right.
It's semi-pro. Do we need like a semi-pro in between league for some of these RDA guys to get meaningful competitive minutes? That
I think so. I mean, I don't remember how the team titled it, but they have that new development team on the boys' side this year. But it's still an academy level team, right? Like, as opposed to a even semi-pro team where you're building that connection while these kids are growing up, going off to college and playing in college. And come on. No bodies.
They're just stacking the box.
But it takes us until the ball is outside the side of the 18-yard box for us to have 4 people on the attacking line.
Yeah.
While we're not heading towards goal anymore.
But I think my bigger question at this point is why? Because we've seen the opposite in recent games. Is it the competition? Are the Battery doing something that are prohibiting us from getting bodies in the box? Is it just nerves? Like, why are we not getting forward? They are more than happy to let our defense pass the ball around. But now we have 4 guys that are sitting back behind their line waiting for them to get a chance to break forward. We got to get more bodies forward.
Yeah. So you asked, what do we do right at the whistle?
Before we were like, we're out, we're leaving.
Yeah. I was just like, I don't have an answer. So give me a few minutes. I did like get a breath. Like this game to me, screaming for Langston Blackstock.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, he is so much more of an offensive presence than Luke Biasi, and having Blackstock and Etu in, I think that's a much better option at this stage. Disappointed that he didn't come in at the half.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really good shout. Because I mean, even before Jacqueline got here, that was one of the things that I talked to Robbie about was the presence of Blackstock on that side allowed Robbie to tuck in a little bit more and pop up in those spots because he knew that Blackstock would be taking up that spot on the side.
What are we doing?
Yeah, was like legitimately, what is the
and this is where I think it is not something that Charleston is doing. We just we look like we're disinterested in playing this game. There's just no good coverage here. Are you telling me that guy's that good that he beats 2 center backs?
Mm. Say this, man. The Bay Street Beer Garden are getting their money's worth. They've been on screen, I don't know how many times, because the corner kicks in that corner. Oh, no, my fire went out. Hold on. I'll be right back. I spent some time today with the chainsaw chopping up some down trees. And so this is the first time we're getting the fire going this this season, I guess we'll say. And so I looked over and the flames had kind of died down. It's still really warm, but
don't use up all your new chopped wood tonight.
Yeah, no, I won't. Don't worry. Actually, this was still wood that we had like sitting here. Every so often we will get we'll get storms that roll through that just like take the power out.
Yeah.
And so part of the reason why we have the fireplace is if the power goes out, I can start a fire, especially like in the middle of the night, like get things warmed up again. And so we've had a pile of wood sitting in a bag literally all summer. So I just sort of tapped into that.
Nice.
But yeah.
I spent some time outside as well today, cleaning out the garden stuff and finally harvesting my birdhouse gourds.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I got 14 of them. So I hope they all cure properly.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried doing gourds as well. Our issue was we just didn't get enough rain, and where I planted them, it was really difficult for me to get water to them. In the past, I planted them there, and we've got enough rain. It's not been an issue. But we probably got like 6. Like it was not nearly. I had for the number of plants that I had planted, should have had like 50. And
oh wow! Yeah,
6.
Oh, yeah. So when I first was reading about them, because a friend of mine gave me the seeds, and I was like, okay, like now I got to figure this thing out. And they said plant them, like it said, plant them with your like beans. So I put them right in the garden with my string beans, and they went crazy. I had 3 seedlings that actually sprouted that I planted in the garden, and I mean, my garden, like the length of it is probably about 25, 30 feet long. And then there's another 6, 8 feet beyond it, like where the compost is and whatnot. I was removing these vines halfway through the summer, like from the one end of the garden all the way over to the front end, so that it wouldn't grow on the gate and like grow the gate closed. And then on the other side, like a month or so ago, I found a couple like on the corner of the fence in the alley. Right.
Oh, they go nuts.
Like I mean, just everywhere. So I will plant them again next year. I will not plant them in my vegetable garden.
Yeah, no, last year we planted them. I think it was last year. We planted like 3 plants along our fence, and they just spread all over the entire fence and covered the entire face of it. And we had tons and tons of gourds, but we had a lot of rain last year, and so it was a non-issue.
Yep.
All right, so you said you bring in Blackstock in this one.
Yep. Give me another option. Who are you going to bring in off the bench?
That's
my point.
My concern is that one of the first moves that Lily always makes is he'll take off a forward and put Kenny in. And like, I get it. I love Kenny. I'm not counting on Kenny to score a goal in this one.
I'm not counting on Kenny to score a goal. And it's not Kenny coming in. It's taking a forward off.
Right.
That unless they are not keeping up.
It looks like either Biasi or Hogan just got a yellow card. It was Hogan.
Yeah.
Hogan needs to stop whining to the ref because he's going to get another one. This ref is no good. Why are we also like, everybody's like taking a break and chugging water 8 minutes into the half? Like, what is going on? This just, it feels like everything that we've done in the past 10 games, all of the goodwill that we've built up, just thrown away for nothing. And I mean, that's probably my biggest beef again with the playoffs, is that it's just one game and it all goes to crap. All season long, we could say, Tampa, it was just one game. If the guys right the ship and turn it around, it's fine. Or, Monterey Bay comes in, it was literally just that last play of the game. Like the guys look good the rest of the time. It's not going to mean what it should mean for the season. Nope. You screw up one game here, it's done. It's over.
Yep.
And, part of me did sort of take offense to, I guess in the post game, this past weekend, Lilly said, he doesn't even think that our team has hit its stride yet to be as good as it can be. And I'm just like, whose fault is that, man? Like,
yeah.
Like,
why are you at the end
that,
of game 34 saying that? Yeah.
Right. Like, I get that you're trying to make a point that, like, oh, we have another level we can take it to. What are you waiting for? Like,
but that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that if you haven't gotten to your best after 34 games, you're doing something wrong as a coach.
Right. Yeah. I don't want this to be like a Lilly hate fest, because I think there's a lot that he does really well.
Right.
But I also think that he's part of the reason why this team continues to get to the playoffs and then is out in the first round? Yes, I do.
My issue is Bob Lilly doing everything he can in the current environment? I think he is, and I think he's the right person for the current environment. But it's not. It's that issue with Tuffy of when you're relying on Bob Lilly to be everything for your team instead of building an actual front office of soccer operations, right? Like, though, that's why.
Yeah.
And we've yet to see anything, I think, from the team in earnest that indicates that Visser's job is actually anything to do with the pro team right now, right? Like, it is building a structure for a future director of soccer person, maybe him, but right now it's building things well before players get to the first team.
Right.
Which is important. But when Bob's your coach and general manager, you're relying on one person to do everything instead of building something that's sustainable. And so you're beholden to Bob. And I'm not saying that means like I want Bob gone, but well, what happens if Bob has an accident?
Right.
What do? We have no plan other than Bob Lilly.
Right. It's the proverbial bus, right? If Bob were to get hit by the bus, what's the backup plan? Mm-hmm. There is no backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
There's none.
Right.
Oh.
This is hard to watch, Mike.
It is. This is very hard to watch. This is not how I was thinking this would go. And it wasn't like cocky. This was like based on everything that we've seen over the past 10 games.
Right.
This is a different team than what we've seen over the past 10 games. The Hounds on the field right now. They're just not playing. There's no urgency. There's no desire. It's just kind of like we're just letting the Battery play with us.
Right. But this is the type of performance that 6, 8, 10 weeks ago was what I was worried about.
Right.
And why I thought at that time that we weren't even going to be in the position to be playing this game.
Right.
And there's a part of me that just wishes we would have played a game or two like this in the past 8 weeks, because at least then I wouldn't be suffering right now.
Listen, I'll say this too. I'm not going to name names, but just sort of in talking to players, typically off air.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that a game like this is the concern, but it was also made very clear that this season has been extremely difficult for the players. Mm-hmm. And if given the option of this season or last season in terms of the team and in terms of what the team did, last season was far preferable.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I don't remember if it was Danny or Robbie that you asked that question to, and it was a resounding take last season answer, right? Like,
right.
And I feel like that's the obvious answer.
Right. It just feels like off the field there were just a lot of different things this season that we almost succeeded in spite of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a testament to Bob's ability to identify the potential in players as well as develop players over time. Yet here we still are.
Right.
We've been down for 50 minutes and haven't looked like actually scoring.
I mean, I have not updated the stats. I think these stats have updated live. But we're still with one shot on target.
Yep.
No big chances, 6 total shots. So.
And if it weren't for Eric Dick, we'd be down 2-0.
North Carolina has drawn 1-1 with Louisville.
Like in regulation? Or that's just like the live score?
That's live score, 21 minutes in.
Oh, okay.
Tampa's up 1-0 over Detroit at halftime.
Okay. I mean, I'd care a lot more if it changed anything for us.
I know.
I mean, the chance of me going to Detroit has nothing to do with Detroit right now.
Right.
All right, I'll be right back.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got some changes. Not the wingback I would have liked to see go. Etu and Osamanu out. Blackstock and Sample in. You're muted.
Sorry, I was informed that we have Cheez-Its in my house now, so I had to go get some Cheez-Its.
Cheez-Its are one of those snacks that I never get. Once in a while, I'll grab a box. Like I'll get like the thing at Costco, and like I have to just like limit myself. Otherwise, I will polish off the entire double bag in one night without even realizing it.
They're so good. If me chewing, like if you can hear it, tell me and I'll mute myself as I'm doing it. So hold on. What did we say? Etu's off. Blackstock's in.
Yep. Osamanu's off. Sample's
in. Okay, so we have an extra man in the midfield.
Yep.
You have Walty who can drop back and play in defense if need be.
Yep. And you have what I think this means is you have Blackstock going up.
Is Blackstock like in the midfield?
And no, I think he's playing out wide.
Okay. You drop Biasi back to center back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which he's a better center back than he is a wing back.
I agree with that. I like him I think that as a wing back he brings some physicality. But at this point we don't need physicality. I will say this: when the season started, I felt like there was a lot of hype
look at
around
this
Jack.
right here, right away. Blackstock is open, gets the ball.
Oh,
and makes a run.
Yep. Let's go, buddy. Corner. Maybe? No? You're still ahead of me. So, yeah.
Yeah, not a corner.
Louisville's up 10-1.
Whatever.
Right. I was going to say that when the season started, there was a lot of hype around Jackson Walty, and I just didn't sort of see what was there. I understood the potential, but I didn't see what was there. In the past few games, dude has been a champ and sort of been everywhere. So I'm happy he's here.
Well, I mean,
again, man.
I said it a month or so ago that Sample I thought was the better of the two, but Bob is stuck with Walty, and Walty has done enough to convince me that I can't make a definitive decision. I think they bring different things.
But again, so now we have a situation. So let's say that we bring them all back next year, right? Griffin, Mertz, Walty, Sample. You have almost too many bodies in the midfield now. Like, your strength is in the midfield, but what do you do?
Yeah.
It also looks like Sample straightened his hair, which I know he didn't do, but that's what it looks like.
I got to get a better look at this.
I'm going to base what happens on your reaction since you're ahead of us. I'm guessing we don't score.
Just to the far end of the 6-yard box to nothing. Okay. Every time I see a keeper go up like that and come down, at 40 years old, I feel the pain that I think he should be feeling in that moment, extending his back that way.
Yeah, I don't get it.
That does look so painful.
I don't like getting up and down from the ground too often. So, like, yeah.
Yeah, I try to avoid having to get up from the ground in life. I think it's just a good rule.
I mean,
hey, Bob, you know what would have been better in that moment? If Nate Dos Santos wasn't on the other team.
Who made that stop? Oh, the guy you didn't re-sign this year. Whoops.
The most underrated center back of your center backs last year, but the guy I think still was second best.
I do miss Nate. I feel like we had him on the show, but now I can't remember if we ever did.
I don't know. I know I had talked to him a couple times, and he's another guy that just like really personable, easy to talk to.
Well, he was also like at one point we noticed that he was in town hanging out with the guys watching our game at Highmark, and it was just like, I just wanted to come back.
Yep. Oh boy. It's getting to the point in the Steel Army Discord where
oh geez. Is it getting hostile?
No. It's the typed out chants are starting.
Oh.
I mean this is like, why was Langston not starting? He is just getting to spaces that are wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Danny! Oh, boy! Oh!
I mean, I'll say this: since the subs have come in, we've been playing with a renewed sense of confidence.
I don't think it was on frame.
No, it wasn't. That was going wide. He could have gone near post and totally had the keeper beat.
Yeah.
But, hindsight.
Well, and it's easy for us to say as we're sitting in the chairs, not in the moment reacting to the ball. And
we just said we don't like getting up and down from the ground. Right. So, we're not the best proxy for this.
Yet nobody cares about the replay of the goal early in the game. Like, come on, just stop.
Yeah. Yeah, that ball never should have gotten there.
So, is that Kevin Sparks that's put the comment earlier, or is it some other Kevin?
I have no idea. I'm going to guess it's not Kevin Sparks.
Is he in the bar watching it on his phone, typing on YouTube?
No, my hope was if he's around, especially having not really followed the team all season, it'd be fun to have him here watching one of these games. I mean, like, wait, is this guy good? Like, what happened? Who is this? What's going on?
Mike, you say that as if he watched games for the past 5 seasons.
Well, that's true. I didn't say take all the Cheez-Its. Sorry, my son just gestured for me to share some Cheez-Its with him, and then he just took the whole bowl. And I was like, no.
That was my favorite thing about Kevin is get on a podcast with him and he'd be like, wow, I don't watch. And then he'd have like absolutely amazing things to say. Well, I will say this. Sitting down, watching the game, talking about it is way better than sitting on my couch by myself.
This is true.
Just stewing about.
It'll be interesting to see what we talk about tomorrow in the recap. It's going to be like we just said everything that we needed to say live.
I'll say some of the same things probably more eloquently because I've had some time to think about them. And
yeah, I'm really hoping it's not like a eulogy at this point, but nothing has really given me any sense that it's going to be anything otherwise.
Yeah. And so I was thinking, like, what would it be like to do this format in a game where I feel really good about the performance? That would be a lot of fun.
Right? Again, it still kind of feels like the Battery are like one step ahead. Like we're so mechanical that they just kind of anticipate and know, oh, when this happens, they're going to try to go this way, and this is how they're going to work stuff up the field. And there's just we don't have sort of creativity to break out of that, whether we're allowed to or not. That could be a whole nother argument.
Well,
Does the
there's
system allow
the
for it?
best decision by the ref all night to not take the bait.
Well, now is the player holding their head? Are they going to bring it back? No. Okay. Let's see the replay.
It starts with this first time ball.
Ooh, Danny Griffin. Yeah, I don't know about that. Got a goal, Blackstock.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Yes, it is.
Touch it a little bit.
So at this stage, Mike, if this result holds, are you picking another USL team to?
No.
Okay.
Are you?
No.
Yeah.
I would be thrilled to see Rhode Island make it deep into the playoffs. Because there's just nothing about Rhode Island that I like have a reason to dislike.
Right.
And with Chico there, I mean, talk about a player that there are a lot of players that I've talked to over the years that are just like great, easy to talk to.
Yeah.
There are very few that I feel like take an actual like interpersonal interest and like ask like want to know who I am, right? Like in ways. And I can name the players that I think do that really, really well over the years. Jordan Dover, Shane Wheat, Danny Rivera, Albert Dequa.
Yeah.
Right. Just like they would always ask about other things, right? Like,
right.
Not just like with a lot of the guys, it's like it's fine, right? But it's like they don't know what to ask, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean,
well, in a certain level,
and that's probably why like those are probably 4 of my favorite all-time Hounds.
Yeah, it's as personal as they may be, it's still very much a business transaction.
Exactly.
It's like
right.
Whereas they
I'm there for
make
the podcast. I want to know about
transaction.
things, right? Like they don't need to ask me those questions, but when they do, it's a really nice little. It's like, oh hey, yeah, like I'm more than just a podcaster to them.
All right, here comes Kenny and Babacar Dieng.
And now I'll say the conversations with Junior are some of my absolute favorites. But Junior has never asked me a question beyond something that has to do with soccer. But the conversations with him are, I mean, they are like having a conversation with Bob.
Right.
Where it's just like he can't turn it off. And it's absolutely fascinating to me. It's like he'll see me and the first thing he wants to say is like something about the game and ask my thoughts on it. It's like, well, what do you think of that? Like, and like specific moments or this or that, right? And I'm like, it's a ton of fun.
Yeah. What do you think of these subs? Yeah.
These are the subs that I expected to see because that's who's on the bench. what other choice do you have when you're making subs?
Okay.
These are the subs that worried me if we had the chance to go to PKs.
Right. I don't know about taking Jockeson off.
I mean, and he's come off all, if not all, almost every game he's been here, which makes me wonder if there's some clause in his agreement that he doesn't play certain, like that he has to keep under a certain number of minutes. Oh, so dainty by Grinwitz. He must have heard us talking and didn't want to have to get all the way up.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to be negative. I just don't see the pathway for this happening. Again, it makes it, I think that the most difficult part of this is I feel like we need to have Justin on the reaction show tomorrow because he'll probably be the only positive one there. But like, it makes everything that we've done over the past 10 games, 18 games, whatever it is to get here mean nothing. Like, I get that it's been fun, that every game has meant something, and to sort of watch the playoff line. Like, sure, that could be fun. You know what also is fun? Winning the Player Shield. That's fun. Like, knowing that you're the best team with a few games left in the season.
Yep.
So, like, if you're giving me a choice, I'm probably going to take the Player Shield because then at least we got some hardware in the cabinet.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I give your argument earlier a bit of credence because this team looks vastly different than what we saw.
You mean the argument of like Ben Pierman not showing his hand when they were in Pittsburgh a few weeks ago?
Ben Pierman not doing what Bob Lilly did in Detroit last year. Yeah, that argument.
That was exactly what Justin said. He was like, we know how much Steve loved that whole Detroit situation from last year. So, yeah.
It's I mean, yes, I've made this clear, I think, right? It is the biggest mistake of Bob Lilly's Riverhounds career. Why do you not go in and knock a team out of the playoffs when you know that if you don't win that game, they're going to get to see you the next week?
Right.
Oh, Bob, you're screwing up. Mike's going to be real disappointed, and this is why we're not winning, because you got 51% of the possession.
Yep. We have not won. I don't know if we've gotten a result. If we've had one game, 50%.
Wasn't there?
There may have been one game.
Because I feel like a few weeks ago, a month or so ago, there was one where we were like, "Wait, how?" Like, but that might have been the Miami game.
Yeah.
Where like, how do you score 4 goals and not have a little bit more possession at that point?
The problem in this scenario is we just keep playing long balls. You're trying to get Kizza to win like a 1-on-4, and like even if he does win it, it's not a clean win that you can then do something with. It's a header that he's trying to play back to somebody. Well, I was about to say it's been a good season, but I can't really say that with a ton of sincerity, I guess. Listen, I will say this, okay? When we started this show, and Dave Brandt was the coach, which I think the first year we did it, it might have been Dave Brandt's first year. We spent a season or 2 or 3 just like wishing we'd get above the playoff line. Bob Lilly has come in, and we've not been in the playoffs his entire time here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. He has progressed the team forward. But there is always that discussion of like, there are different coaches, there are different managers for different phases of each team. And sometimes, you see this a lot in England. You have a manager come in and their cap is to get you like mid-table or get you just beneath the Champions League line, but they're never going to get you that extra step. Right. And you got to bring in somebody else to do that extra step. I kind of feel like what Lilly has done has been fantastic for the club. I feel like the attendance numbers probably wouldn't be where they would be if it wasn't for him.
I think you're right.
I feel like the growth of the program wouldn't be what it would be if it wasn't for him. Is he the one that I think is ultimately going to win us a championship? Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, he can bring a mediocre mismatch of players to the playoffs, and he can do that year after year after year. He's playing in a different league than when he won that one championship.
Right.
I will say, I'm not convinced that we're playing well right now, but at least we don't look lazy. I think this game looks completely different. Now it doesn't look like the Hounds are losing this game. It looks like Charleston is winning this game. But why has that changed in the 80th minute on? Right? Like, if we were playing like we are for the past 5 minutes or so, the entire game, and we were losing, yeah, it hurts. Yeah, I want to see better. But I don't have this feeling that, well, we let them win.
Again, the pass to no one. Like, what?
Yep. And again. But I think one of the things that, I don't know, we've talked about this in a while. I know we've talked about it at times. But the other really big problem with the constant roster rebuilds year after year after year is, yeah, Bob brings these players to the playoffs, and then they get some experience and learn from that, and then they leave. And you bring in a bunch of guys that have never been in that situation. And I mean, I said this in the offseason. I don't care that the Hounds brought back the most players ever.
Right.
When you lose the number of starters that were lost. I want to be excited about that save. I do. I'm not. It's a great save, Eric. It's just not enough because nobody else has done enough tonight other than you.
Right. No, I mean, look, the whole thing about longer contracts and bringing players back, we talked a little bit about it during the pregame show, but when I talked to Atamanu, and it was in the context of Pro Rel. And so for those who missed that conversation, Asamano is someone who has played in multiple leagues, including USL League One in the championship. He sort of has worked his way up. He said one of the things he would love to see is both longer contracts and some form of pro rel, because he said that just amongst the players that he has played with, you see cases where you get to the end of the season they already know they're not going to be back next year. So what is the incentive for them to, play for the crest? They're already thinking about where they're going to be next year. They already know that they're going to be moving to some other team. So like, why there isn't this like burning sensation to really give it your all because you want to win a championship or you want to make it to the playoffs because you just know that next year you're going to be somewhere else anyway. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Or, if there was pro rel, you're trying to stay up versus going down or whatever. But like, that's all within the context of longer contracts anyway. So it's just like, there just isn't as much to play for. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I absolutely loved that interview. And I think part of it was the things that he was talking about were interesting and relevant and thoughtful. But it's a side of him that I've never gotten to because despite the fact that he's a really nice guy, like always says hi, he's never, when I've been there, done a post-game press or like conference, right? So I have never had the chance to, other than like a 2-minute quick interview with him after practice last year, like get to talk to him because usually I'm interacting with them post-game on the field where I'm just like quick exchanges, right? Or when I'm walking around taking pictures or something and he's on the sidelines. So it was one of my favorites because I got to see a side of one of the players that I haven't gotten to know as well and hear some really interesting and thoughtful ideas and articulations that was just like, yeah, that's what I want to hear from the guys. Thanks, broadcast team, for reminding me.
This show tomorrow is going to be brutal.
What show tomorrow, Mike?
I know, right? We should just not record tomorrow and instead tell them to watch this. I'll give them everything they need to know.
I'll be there. I don't want to talk about this again, but I'll be there.
Maybe you and I should just tag out for this one. Like have it be Josh and Justin and whoever and Drew. They can all do it.
Yeah.
We shared our thoughts in real time. We get the night off.
Yeah, this is not.
It would be very interesting if we score just to sort of see how that changes the battery's approach to the game. But I honestly don't feel like we've done enough to score, so I would feel like it was a bit unwarranted.
I don't care if we score. I don't care if it feels unwarranted.
I know.
You take your lucky goals when you get them, and you move on. And
I know.
guess my only consolation is
Riverhounds season.
I don't have to care about what happens in Hamtramck, Michigan, because there's no chance I'm going there next weekend.
Right.
There'll be one more chance left in this.
I love how the ball is trailing back and Lily's gesturing like, why is nobody there?
Oh,
And he
Eric
missed
Dick
it.
comes up big, but it doesn't matter again because we don't know how to score, Bob. How are we not losing by 4 at this point? Eric Dick, you give me too much hope.
The hope that kills you, man.
If he wasn't such a good keeper, I wouldn't be in this like stressed out spot for the past 80 minutes of, well, we're only down a goal. Well, that's all, folks.
Yeah, seriously. Alrighty, well, I don't know. I will save my words, I guess, for tomorrow.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll see you then.
Bye, Steve.